So, picture this. He was the gentleman of football, calm under pressure, humble in victory, gracious in defeat. In a career that spanned over 500 matches, he never received a single yellow or red card, not once. On the pitch, Gary Lineker was the embodiment of discipline, kindness and control. A striker who glided past defenders like poetry in motion, scored goals with surgical precision and left the game with his reputation spotless. But off the pitch, things weren't so simple. The same man who made football look effortless somehow couldn't keep his personal life from slipping through the cracks. 3 marriages, 3 divorces, and suddenly the perfect man didn't seem so perfect anymore. How does a man so balanced in 90 minutes become unsteady in real life? What cost did fame, pressure, and perhaps the quiet burden of being too good come with? Behind the smile, the suit, and the matchday commentary is a man who gave his all to football, but maybe didn't have much left for himself. Was it love that failed him, or did he fail love? How could a man who never lost his temper on the pitch lose so much at home? This is not just the story of goals and glory, it's the story of how a golden boy's perfect image clashed with the real weight of being human. A scrawny kid in Leicester, England, born in 1960, who wasn't quite built like the rough and tumble footballers of the day. He wasn't tall, he wasn't strong, but he had eyes like a hawk and feet that knew exactly where the goal was, always. That kid was Gary Lineker. And before he became the sharp-suited host of Match of the Dicker, had the kind of quiet fury you don't see until it's too late. He burst into the first team in 1978, and by the time the 1981-82 season kicked off, he was lethal. Every time the ball hit his boot, fans held their breath. In 1984-85, he bagged 24 league goals, becoming the First Division's top scorer and putting himself on every big club's radar. That summer, Everton made their move. And if anyone doubted he could cut it at a top club, they were in for a rude awakening. In just one season at Goodison Park, Lineker scored 40 goals in all competitions. 40. In one season. The man didn't just arrive, he exploded. Everton were league runners-up and reached the FA Cup final. Lineker's runs were so sharp they could slice defenders open, and his finishes cold as ice. But he wasn't destined to stay long, because across the water, a sleeping giant had taken notice.
Barcelona came calling in 1986, and Lineker didn't flinch. Most English players back then feared the challenge of moving abroad. They looked...
Not Gary. He packed his bags, learned the language, and brought his goals to the Camp Nou. His debut season in La Liga, 17 league goals. But it was that hat-trick against Real Madrid that made him a Barcelona legend. In less than 30 minutes, Lineker destroyed Real's backline, scoring 3 unforgettable goals in El Clasico. Catalonia was in love. But football is never a smooth ride. Johan Cruyff took over at Barca, and suddenly Lineker, who thrived as a central striker, was being pushed out wide. The goals dried up a little, the spotlight dimmed, and the politics of football reared its ugly head. Still, Lineker walked away from Spain with his head held high. 52 goals in 138 appearances, and a legacy cemented in one of the world's biggest clubs. Back in England, Tottenham Hotspur offered him a home, and London welcomed him like royalty. From 1989 to 1992, Lineker led Spurs' attack with class and poise. He scored 24 goals in his debut season and never stopped delivering. In 1991, he helped Tottenham win the FA Cup, an emotional triumph for a club that needed silverware. Lineker's partnership with Paul Gascoigne was electric. Gazza brought the madness, Lineker brought the precision. Together they made Spurs beautiful to watch again. But while club football was his bread and butter, Gary Lineker in an England shirt, that was pure cinema. At the 1986 World Cup, he dominated. 6 goals, golden boot. And this wasn't a tournament short on drama. He was the only thing keeping England alive. Yet, amidst all the chaos, Lineker stood tall. Honest, clinical and tireless. He left Mexico as one of the world's deadliest finishers. Lineker was still England's man, more mature, scored 4 goals, including 2 pressure Germany in the semis. It felt like destiny. But after a 1-1 draw came the dreaded penalty. Yes, it was Lineker. It was all of us. He ended his England career with 48 goals, just one short of Bobby Charlton's. No screamers, no bicycle kicks, but Gary wasn't done making an impact. He became one of the first European stars to help launch the J-League. Injuries hampered his time there, but his presence gave the league credibility and attention. And once again, he did it with dignity and grace. But Lineker was never going to vanish. He slipped into television with the same ease he used to slip behind defenders. And soon, he became the face of English football coverage. Smart. He wasn't the flashiest, he wasn't the loudest. But when the ball dropped in the box and the keeper blinked, Lineker had already scored. Kids today might know him from Twitter or from cracking jokes next to Alan Shearer. But the real ones remember the boy from Leicester who conquered England, dazzled Spain, and nearly dragged England to World Cup glory twice. He was never the villain, always the gentleman, and always the goal-getter. So, next time someone tells you football has changed, remind them of Gary Lineker. Remind them of a man who never cheated, never fouled, never shouted, but always scored.
When you think match of the day, you think Gary Lineker.
Good evening. You didn't think we'd gone, did you?
Match of the day means everything to him.
It's 50 not out for match of the day now.
You don't do something for 26 years and have the great times that he had without thinking that this has been a huge, huge part of my life.
England have beaten Germany for the first time in 34 years, so if you'll forgive me, just this once.
Yes.
He loves it. It means the world to him.
If you're around Gary enough, you know, you talk to him about Spanish football or the brightest young 17, 18-year-old coming through at whatever team he knows about.
Blown it a wide bit long. Is it the manager's fault?
Being part of Match of the Day shows you that.
Sure, Lineker will get all the headlines tomorrow, and he deserves that.
Good ball, Lineker coming round the back. Gary Lineker's first ever goal in the First Division.
He was an incredible player.
Now here's Lineker.
When this lad Lineker starts taking his chances a wee bit more often, then we've got a fine, fine player on hand.
And Lineker
Wants apology.